Hello, lovely people. This is Dr. V, burnout expert. And as you know, I have published 2 books, Success Starts Today, for which I got a bestseller award, which was awesome, and my memoir, My Surgeon Talks to Angels, in which I describe my personal burnout journey also, as well as other things. I'm just mentioning this because today we're talking to another author, dinaglouberman.com at g. Oh, that's your email. That's your website. So Dina Glouberman. And she wrote several books, and the main one we're going to discuss today is The Joy of Burnout, because Dina told me she has a different understanding of why people get burnout. And I'm very, very interested in hearing what your take is on that, Dina. But by all means, first introduce yourself, and we will also tell people at the end how they can contact you.
Great. Okay, thank you. It's delightful to be here. I haven't talked about burnout for a long time. So just to say something about my background, in 1979, I started with my ex-husband, who was then my husband, a center on a Greek island called Skiros. Some of you will have heard of Skiros holidays. So we started Skiros 40 something years ago, and it's still running now. And that is about taking a holistic approach to holidays. And it started off just personal development, and then writers' workshops. We have 2 centers there. One of them is really holistic. You can take courses in any subject at all. And there's a creation of a community. So community is very important to me, including in recovering from burnout. And I am a psychologist and a psychotherapist, and I've written 6 books now, I think. But the one that we're talking about mainly is The Joy of Burnout. And I want to mention also that I have just, I'm going to show you Joy of Burnout. It looks like this, someone on a hammock. And I'm just going to mention my new book, Image Work, because I understand that many of you are practitioners. And my specialty over all these years is to work with the imagination to understand ourselves and guide our lives. So The Joy of Burnout, every chapter has got an imagery exercise, but this latest book, Image Work, is training people how to use imagery in groups, in individual work, and so on. And I'm about to run a diploma course in image work. So if you have any interest in working with the imagination, do go to my website, dinaglouberman.com. So that's the spiel, as we say. So you want to know about what my approach to burnout is. Let me begin by saying that I burned out too. And I think like you, I didn't know what it was. And it was in 1984. And I went to a doctor who said his diagnosis was, you need a holiday, not on the national health, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And then I went to a homeopathic doctor, and he said, my dear, your heart is tired. And that was probably much more accurate of what it was.
Yeah.
But this started me on a 7-year process until I got my energy back. And in that time, I changed my life. And then years later, a friend of mine came from Sweden and said something about burnout, which was a big deal in Sweden. And I said, burnout, that's what it is. And I think people know they burnt out partly because the word is so evocative of this feeling, my fire is low. My fire is low. And that's how I realized. And then I reflected on what happened to me, and I read all the literature on burnout, which mostly said you are working too hard, you're overachieving, you're driving yourself, you need a work-life balance. And I thought, I drove myself for so many years. I was running 2 centers. I had a full-time job. I had clients, I had groups. I had children, and I had a husband.
Yeah.
If I had an evening free, it was because I forgot the appointment I was supposed to do. So I knew it wasn't working too hard. I knew that couldn't be right. And so I had to think about what it was. And I came up with the understanding that goes like this. And when I tell people about this, it rings a bell for most people that are burnt out. So what happens is the typical burnout person is a person is often very high energy, high achieving, high giving, you know, willing to give, to love, to offer all of themselves. And this works as long as their heart is in what they're doing, as long as they're wholehearted. So what I was doing all those years, I was wholehearted about. Okay. Then comes a time when your heart goes out of what you're doing. There could be two reasons for this. One reason is that the thing you're doing has changed. It could be, it's not just work, by the way. I want to add that because people think it's a work thing. You can burn out in a relationship as well. Yeah. Something changes. For example, I interviewed someone who burnt out due to a relationship. Her partner lost his job and got depressed and wouldn't do anything to help himself. So she drove herself to seek out applications, fill them out for him, you know, so on and so forth. And finally, he got a job, went to Paris, and she went to hospital. and that's a typical burnout person. You know, her heart was out of it. She wasn't having any fun at all, but and I'll explain why she didn't do anything about that. But at work, it's the same. It could be that your boss has changed. Yeah. And the person that approved of you no longer does. I remember working with someone who was an obstetrician who the hospital was a community, and then somebody new came and they told him he wasn't doing enough hysterectomies, so his productivity was low. You know, so your heart goes out. But the other reason very often is that you've just grown. Or you've changed and you don't want to do it anymore. And this is what happened to me, that we had reached a point that we were feeling safer about what we were doing. And I said, time for me to go inside. And then the idea came up of one more thing. And this is very typical. People say, just this one last thing, and then I'll stop. You know, so I did that. I said, just this one last thing. And we started a magazine, and I had people all over my house because the office wasn't ready. It was a nightmare. And finally one day I walked out of the house and I couldn't come home again. And the traffic sounded too loud and so on, you know, and that was the beginning of my burnout. And so what I realized was this. When you're wholehearted, you can do anything. People say, how do you get all that energy? And then you say, oh, I guess I was born that way. Your heart goes out of it. And then what do? Okay. You have two choices in a way. One choice is to step back. This is what you need to do. You need to step back and say, my heart has gone out of this. I either need to change the situation or change my attitude and recommit, or leave the situation. But I have to become wholehearted again. People that do this do not burn out. But people that burn out, we have our identity tied up in the thing we're doing.
Very true.
So you might fear that this woman who did all this for her partner, she didn't want to be what she called on the shelf. She thought she had to be a couple or she'd die, you know. And other people, they spent their whole life trying to seek success. They fear that if they know the truth, they might have to leave their job and be a failure and so on.
Yes.
So people think that if they know the truth, they might have to do something which they don't want to do, which they fear doing because their identity is tied up. And there's a saying from my childhood, which sums this up. And it goes like this: I hate spinach, and I'm glad I hate spinach, because if I liked it, I would eat it. And I hate spinach. So people think that they might have to do something they fear doing. So they don't want to know the truth. So instead of stepping back, you drive yourself forward, as I did, with your, it's as if you have your accelerator and your brake on at the same time, because you're divided against yourself and you don't stop for fuel. And then you burn out. You hit the wall. Okay? Yeah. Does this ring a bell?
Absolutely. And don't forget, even like young mothers with babies, they can burn out also.
Absolutely. Same thing. I'm supposed to love this. This is supposed to be all wonderful, the dream of my life. And what if it isn't? Yeah. What do you have to do? I can't bear to step back because I'll be a bad mother. There's nothing worse in the world than being called a bad mother. I must go on. And so you drive yourself.
Yeah. And also me as a medical doctor, when I realized I couldn't do my work anymore, I had a very big identity crisis, because I realized I had to learn that I'm more than just my profession.
Yes, exactly.
And it was a shock to the system to let go of my whole personality identity. Was so attached to saying I'm a medical doctor. And then I had to discover all these other aspects of my being, which gladly I did. So I understand there is a benefit in being completely burnt out and surviving it.
Yes.
I ended up in intensive care twice, because for me it was so bad that my whole emotional and mental it really put my energy system down so much that my organs started to fail, and I could have died.
And I think very often, even if people don't know it, they burn it, they suddenly get a heart attack.
Absolutely.
And you know, this kind of thing. And you know, in my view, for myself, I feel the burnout protected me, because if I had kept going like that, I would have ended up with a life-threatening illness. And I'm just going to tell a little story, which is very interesting, because as you know, I work with images, but when I was in college, we were given an assignment, which was a kind of imagery assignment, to write our obituary. And in this obituary I wrote, I died in October 1989 when I was 44. And that was when I burnt out. And so I think that I was given the choice, transform or die.
Yes, absolutely.
And you almost died, and I burnt out. So I was like, I'd run a course, because I could still do that. I'd go to, if I was in Greece, I'd go to my room, close the shutters. I couldn't bear any light. And I stayed in my room all day until the next thing I had. And that's burnout, people. You still do your work, even though you're half dead. Anyway, so what happens then once people burn out is they again have two choices. One choice is, doctor, make me better so I can go back to what I was doing before. And the other choice is to say, I've lost my joy. I need to get my joy back. I need to have a better life than this. And in a way, I call it the joy of burnout, because first of all, our system, our organism is standing up for joy. It's saying, I won't have this. You're not going to live this miserable life. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to stop you. And also, when we let go of all those things, we start to find our joy. And so the first step is what I call give up hope and keep the faith.
Yeah.
And give up hope means give up hope of that thing you thought was more important than life itself.
Yes.
And keep the faith that you'll still be okay. And I've interviewed loads of people, and they would say things like, I wished I would have an accident and end up in hospital so I didn't have to go to work.
And often that happens that way.
So they'd rather go to hospital than say, I'm not going to work. because, and that tells you everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So give up hope. You may never, never, never be that success. You may never, never, never be in a couple again. You may never, never. And as you said, you're more than that.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
will still be okay. So that's the first step. And
it's very tough for people, because also of the in culture, there's a lot of cultures where people see it as a failure if you stop with your profession or with your work. And I think it's worse in certain cultures than in others. But
especially burnout people. Burnout people have this great success orientation or great generosity and giving, and they find it difficult. And actually, this is why so many people wrote to me that my book saved their life, because my book is saying, basically, this is a step on your spiritual path. And it's saying, you have learned how to love and give. That's a very high thing, but you haven't learned how to honor yourself. And until that's your next step, and you need to make it. And the burnout is telling you that's your next step. So what I'm saying is, burnout, as you found, in the end, it caused you to change your life in a positive direction. Not caused you, because you could have gone back and tried again, which you probably did, since you had 2 burnouts.
Yeah.
So the first time you must have gone back.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So twice was enough.
And now I recognize the signs. So often I will now just say, like, hey, I'm too tired. I say no to things. I prioritize myself now rather than always other people.
Or the thing outside you.
Yeah.
It is more important.
And also listening to your body. When your body says, I'm tired, I actually let it rest and sleep rather than pushing myself like I used to do. I had to learn that, I was brought up to always, like, don't complain. If anything hurts, just be quiet and get on with it, So ignore your body's messages, while your body actually wants to help you. For instance, if you have a pain in the neck, it might be something in your surroundings or somebody that's being a pain in the neck.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The body gives you messages, and I had to learn to listen to why am I feeling, or a heavy heart or something, or why am I feeling, and it's often a reason for it, and it's a message that you need to change something. As you said, I love everything that you've said so far. I've written it down so I can put it in the text.
So one of the things I say about the body is give your soul a good home, and that means you need to take care of the body. But I want to say one more thing, that one other step, which is very important. It's about living truthfully. Everyone who burns out, the road to burnout is paved with denial. We deny that we're not happy with our situation. We deny that we're getting ill. We deny everything. And I say it's like a living truthfully muscle. You have to learn how to tell yourself the truth. And you're using your body to do that. Because if my body says I have a pain in the neck, I can't say everything's fine because I'm listening. And I think that's kind of really important. And the other thing of what you said about the culture or the society around you is this thing about what I call a soul community, which is people who value you for who you are and not what you're doing. And very often, burnout people have been surrounded by people who value them. It's what I call the goose who lays the golden eggs.
Yes.
You either they do or you think they do value you for your golden eggs and not because you're a wonderful goose. And so you need to either find people who can value you for yourself or turn those people, because very often they weren't what you thought. They loved you and not your golden eggs, but you didn't know it. You thought, and this is especially, I suppose, if we have parents who reinforced us for doing things and accomplishing things, we didn't know that actually they would have loved us anyway. We didn't really know that, but they probably did. They just thought it was good for us. And in the end, it was tough, you know, because we didn't know we were loved for ourselves and not our golden eggs, you know. So, yeah.
That's a very beautiful image that I haven't thought about of earlier, but it definitely struck a chord with me. Thank you so much. That was so much good information, and I'm gonna enjoy reading your book, The Joy of Burnout, and your new book, Image Work. People can contact you via your website, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to dinaglouberman.com and go to the contact section, section and just write to me there and I will respond.
And I will type it out in the comments so they get it, the spelling right. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
Just that you are what you are already what you need to be. Yes. You are already what you need to be. Everything else is extra.
Yeah. So you are
everything
enough.
Else. Yeah. You are, and I think that's a very important thing for us burnout people. You are enough. You are enough because our being does not depend on what we accomplish. Our being depends on, you know, we are all beings of light, and our being depends on our light. And really, this is what people value about us. We don't realize that it's not our accomplishments that makes people love us. It's us. It's us. And you'll always have that. That's why I say, give up hope but keep the faith. You'll always have that. You'll always have yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you kill yourself by burnout. So don't do it.
Don't do that. No. Yes, I've seen it too many times.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I don't want this recording to be too long. I'm sure we both have other things to do and that bring us joy. Thank you so much again, Dina. Stay in touch, and I will. Hopefully, we will meet one day.
I hope so. I'm in Italy right now, but I normally live in North London. So
okay, that's not even so far. Yeah, we can definitely organize something.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually want to do like bring all of the people that I've interviewed who are all like interested in burnout together for like a summit or something.
Yeah, and let me just say one more thing. I'm going to be teaching courses in Skiros this summer, and part of that is about burnout and so on. So I invite you to people that come to burnout, when come to Skiros, when I say to them, how many of you have burnt out or burning out or are about to burn out? Most of them raise their hands. So, so come to Skiros, or I run courses here in Italy also. So think about being surrounded by a soul community.
Yeah, I love the Greek islands. Skiros is a Greek island, right?
It's a Greek island, yeah. It's called Skiros, yeah.
Yeah, what date is it? Because I'm not sure.
I've got one coming up very soon in June and one in August. And the website is skiros.com. If you go there, SKYROS.com. So the first course that I'm running is starting on the 18th of June for 2 weeks.
Oh.
And the second course I'm running is August. Let me just check the dates. Is the 30th, the 30th of July for 2 weeks. So it's August. It's actually starting on the 30th of July until the 13th of August, the 12th of August.
All right, I've written it.
Come along. Yeah. It's great. And it's beautiful as well, of course.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.